Story 1. Sadly, Jerry Lewis and his annual Labor Day telethon for Muscular Dystrophy Association. After Jerry left or was ousted, they reduced it from a 20-plus hours marathon to a few hours until eventually it got canceled. I grew up in an era when watching the Muscular Dystrophy Association telethon was an annual tradition, rejoicing how every year Jerry managed to raise more than the last. It was just non-stop hours of Hollywood's finest singing and dancing away on your TV for Jerry's kids. It was really something. Story 2. Oprah. I know she receives a lot of criticism now, deservedly so, for supporting many horrendous grifters. However, when her show first aired, I admired her as someone who seemed genuine and who discussed issues that people in my neighborhood would never openly talk about. She was the only counter-narrative to my family's deeply held problematic beliefs. Story 3. Google was once thought of as a technical marvel of a company that produced consistently great products and had a strong sense of ethics. They are begrudgingly accepted now at best and actively disliked by many for their consistently diminishing quality, questionable ethics, and horrendous privacy practices. Story 4. Streaming sites and digital goods are becoming less popular as people switch to piracy and hard copies. This shift in preference is largely due to the frustration that arises when people discover they don't actually own the digital media they purchase. Even sites that claim you own the digital copies have been proven false. It's important to read your terms and conditions carefully. Moreover, there is growing discontent over the need to pay extra to eliminate ads, especially when this fee is on top of what is already paid for a premium service. This practice of charging extra for an ad-free experience is becoming more common across various digital platforms. While it would be somewhat surprising if Netflix were to adopt this model, it wouldn't be shocking to see it happen given the trend. Story 5. Autism Speaks is a controversial organization that prioritizes funding to what are called warrior moms over directly assisting autistic children. It portrays autism as a terrible disease rather than acknowledging it as a disability. The organization advocates for harmful and irrational approaches to managing meltdowns and ignores the concerns of actual autistic individuals. Consequently, many reject the puzzle piece symbol associated with Autism Speaks. Story 6. Kevin Spacey, a two-time Oscar winner and extremely respected actor, could have had a great Twilight Years career and was supposed to be a legend. However, it turns out he's a disgrace. Not that this is anything to overlook, but he's now been relegated to trying to get people to purchase pictures with him and his autograph in exchange for pretty high amounts of money. He was at a convention recently with his poster marked "First Convention Appearance," as if it were super exciting, but comments on social media were immediately turned off. Edit. Taking this from another comment edit of mine, I must say I do love that a few of you are defending the guy and telling me I'm engaging in slander, as J. Jonah Jameson taught us over 20 years ago. In print, it's libel. Can I just point out that most people were thinking, oh cool, a murderer died about O.J. Simpson less than a week ago? I mean, he too was acquitted. It's almost funny how many of you defend a person who wouldn't think about you twice after looking at you. It makes me wonder how many of you are also apologists for Polanski. Story 7. Watching Amazon Prime Video, I thought removing the ability to filter out the unnecessary content to subscribe to other companies or buy movies was a poor decision a few months ago. However, now they are forcing advertisements on us. I already pay to be ad-free. Otherwise, I'd be watching TV. Story 8. People. Paula Deen, Ellen DeGeneres, and Will Smith. Thing. TY Beanie Babies. Organization Boeing Disney. Side note. Remember when Crocs used to be a joke and somehow made a comeback? Story 9. Did not the people for the ethical treatment of animals start out being sort of reasonable? If I recall correctly, their Holocaust on Your Plate campaign when I was in high school was the turning point for me when they started to look really unhinged. Story 10. Rosie O'Donnell, Ellen DeGeneres, and Paula Deen. All they had to do was keep their mouths shut or treat people like humans. Story 11. Honestly, anything Elon touches. He was once touted as the eccentric weirdo who would change the world. Now, I'm pretty sure he will have a major hand in, if not entirely orchestrating, the downfall of humanity. So, yeah, I guess he will still change the world. Story 12. This is a bit esoteric and will only be known to people who have worked in large corporations. but I'll refer to it as personality training. There used to be many consulting companies that would help a company determine the kinds of personalities each employee had and would provide strategies for interacting with the different kinds of personalities. Employees would then be encouraged to share their personality types so that everyone knew the best ways to interact. It was all Myers-Briggs testing dressed up in different ways, and the people working the courses knew exactly how to talk to executives. Management was very interested in this approach until a few years ago when they stopped using it. Older managers are silent about it, while younger ones who didn't experience it tend to make fun of the premise. Story 13. I have respect for teachers, but they don't get any most of the time. It's very depressing seeing how poorly they're treated. Story 14. Oat milk. Oats. They require less water to grow than almonds, and there are no cows in cages. They must be the answer. However, they are all starch. Drinking oat milk is like drinking sugar water. It is not good for you. Story 15. I will get so much hate for this, but the United States. When I was a kid, everyone I knew dreamed of going to the United States and living there. It felt like it was untouchable. Everything that came from there was so incredibly cool. Then, the presidency of Donald Trump happened. Story 16. Greenpeace has not mentioned a word about the whale deaths occurring along the eastern seaboard. These incidents are happening as companies continue to explore and test the seabed for suitable wind turbine farm locations. Story 17. I don't know about Beloved, but Prince Harry's popularity took a pretty steep dive in a relatively short period of time. Story 18. Sure, here's the corrected version. Oh my goodness. How long of a list am I allowed? Movies. Amazon Prime. Broadcast, cable TV literally unwatchable. Fast food, except In-N-Out. Story 19. Not sure if she belongs here, but an Elizabeth Holmes had a blood testing company that was supposed to be next level, accessible, and cheap, delivering people's results quickly with all sorts of benefits. One benefit being that you only needed blood from a finger prick, which is practically impossible to get anything of value from such a small quantity. She was considered the youngest self-made woman billionaire, and her company was valued at $9 billion. Turns out she was a huge fraud. Story 20. The History Channel used to be a source of historical information and documentaries. Now it's just reality TV and alien conspiracies. Story 21. If Rudy Giuliani had faded off into the sunset after September 11th, he would be thought of as a great guy who was there when he was needed. And Four Seasons Total Landscaping would never have become world famous. Story 22. Game of Thrones. Once a cultural behemoth, people didn't even hate it overnight. They just stopped caring completely. It will be a case study in years to come, as we have never seen something fall off so hard. Story 23. Gina Carano. Girl, suing Disney is just sad. Everyone with a brain cell knows you weren't fired. They chose not to renew your contract. You weren't discriminated against. You just faced consequences for comparing being right-wing to being a Holocaust victim. Move on. Story 24. I think the Red Cross suffered a huge optic blow in the 1990s. Something about Bob Dole's wife being made the head of it? I would love to know if my brain is telling me the truth. Then there's the Boy Scouts of America. Story 25. John Mulaney. I could quote almost all of his specials by heart, went to multiple of his shows, and now you hear nothing about him. Really sad, but I'm still on his ex-wife's side.